not the strongest of the species that survive, nor the most intelligent, but those that are adaptive to change. And ladies and gentlemen, we are in a huge, changing society. I thank you very much, and I ask you to just give us a minute, and we will get the panel up here. Thank you for your time. Now we're going to talk about precious metals, a risk-on trade or a safe haven. That's just something that I was talking about, but boy, I sure want input from you guys. My panel is Tom Calandra. Hi, Tom. Jeff Berwick, David Morgan, and Greg McCoach. Hey, Greg. And let's just get right into it. For so many years, the U.S. dollar, decades, the U.S. dollar has been considered the safe haven. And boy, when the problem started up in Europe and money came out of every asset class, stocks, didn't matter what it was, commodities, and you would think that gold would go up and silver would go up, the precious metals would go up. Counterintuitively, they went down, and people said, well, I thought gold was a safe haven. I thought silver was a safe haven. But it becomes a risk asset, a risk play. So David, what's your take? Is gold, are the precious metals a safe haven? Are they becoming, or is it the good old U.S. dollar?
In my view, it is a safe haven. I don't mind the risk on off too much. Certainly it plays a factor, and it seems to be in the financial press, especially in our subgroup, the hard asset class. But it's always been certainty that people see. There's nothing more apparent than what you said in your last slide, Michael, that you've got to be adaptive, because one certain thing in life is change. And the one thing that doesn't change throughout monetary history is that people seek safety. And safety in the precious metals has been proven throughout over 5,000 years. So I think it really is an undereducated public that doesn't really understand, because they've been brainwashed that paper currency is as good as gold. And it used to be, up until August 15, 1971. So I think it's really an unawareness of the public, and maybe I use the word brainwashing, maybe that's too severe, but I think it's an unawareness.
And Greg, I mean, if that's the case, and I don't disagree with David, but we can be as right as we want to be or as wrong as we want to be. It's the market that's going to tell us, and the market's telling us that they didn't want precious metals, they wanted paper dollars.
Right, and definitely dictated in the short term, the very short term, and this has been the case with precious metals during this secular bull market the last 11 years. There are moments when gold gets weak, when we thought it should have been strong. It's always a short term though. In other words, it corrects back temporarily. The dollar acts as the place to be. It's a revolving door. It's a bunch of musical chairs, and the music stops. People jump from one fiat currency to another, looking for some safe place to park their money. But in reality, it's ultimately going to be gold that is the ultimate form of money and the ultimate safe haven currency. We're not there yet. We're still in the process of this evolving debacle. It's getting closer to the edge where this thing is really teetering now. The dollar will, at times, be looked at as the temporary safe place for putting your money, but in the end, it's going to be gold.
And Jeff, I know where you're going to come from, but let me just pose this to you. The fact is that it's hundreds of billions of dollars in currencies trade every single day, and if even a small percentage of that went into gold, it would just blow the top off of gold.
Yeah, that's totally right. If you actually look at the total gold portfolio, that people as a percentage of their portfolio, how much of the percent was gold or gold stocks or anything precious metals related? If you look at the 1980s, it was around, I can't remember exactly, maybe 2%. 1990s, it went down to like 0.6%. It was like 0.3% in 2000. And now it's about 0.7%, but that's only because the price of gold and gold stocks have risen. But the basic point is that these things are definitely, like the gold stocks are definitely undervalued towards gold as well, and that's one thing I just wanted to mention. And but this all related. What happened in 2008 was actually really a liquidity crisis, and the growth of the money supply in 2007 actually got down to almost 0%. Not many people know that. And that's what caused what happened in 2008. They've actually ever since then, so we've been about 5 years now of over 10% money supply growth every year, which is a massive amount. So definitely getting into gold and those sort of things will protect you from what's going to happen in the next few years.
And Tom, I mean, I'm going to pass off to you, but this all sounds fine to me. I'm the moderator. But meanwhile, I go out and on Friday, gold fell and the US dollar went up because of what was happening in Greece and looking forward to the weekend that maybe they weren't going to vote for austerity and they were going to have to pull out of the euro. You'd think that gold would have gone up $100.
Mike, you're pretty fired up there. I watched the presentation there, and you're a little more fired up than I've seen you. So you're getting excited, and hopefully that's an indicator. I know. I mean, he was fired up. Come on, he's still fired up. He's a great presenter, and he's got a great voice too. I don't see. I mean, you know me. I'm in it to win it, so I just stay in it. But gold 1720 or 1725. You know, I don't watch it go up and down, but here's a good point that makes it more physical. So you get a silver quarter. How much, David Morgan, how much does a silver quarter weigh? A 1/16 of an ounce?
Oh, it'd be 1/4 of 3/4 of an ounce, whatever that is. I'm too tired of the math. Usually I can.
Somebody else.
About 0.2 ounces, so about 2/10 of an ounce.
2/10 of an ounce, a fifth of an ounce.
So 2/10 of an ounce of silver, which is that's worth $6.
Yeah, okay.
One silver quarter is worth $6. That's all I got to say. I mean, that's beautiful.
All right, so David, I'm going to come back to you after the math lesson. I am starting, and I'm starting with you this on silver, I am starting to hear negative vibes on silver, that gold's going to go up. We're going to see the gold-silver ratio spread out quite considerably, and certainly right now in this last rally, silver has led. There is no doubt about that, but boy, I am hearing a lot of forecasters and analysts saying that silver's capped and watch gold go. And I know that your expertise is in silver. Not necessarily your bias, but your expertise is in silver. So what do you say to those people that say maybe silver's capped, is not going to move?
Well, to reiterate what you said, is the market's no more than anybody, and I agree with that. So the market will tell us. Personally, I think that silver could lag, especially if you get this deflationary scare that I've been talking about for quite some time, and in my work. The overall best analysis on gold and deflation, still I think the commensurate study is the Golden Constant by Professor Gassner, who actually proved that gold is best in deflation, not in inflation. After he wrote that book, he posed the question to himself, what does silver do under various economic times? And he went back and did another study on silver to find out what the answer was. Using the same metrics that he wrote in the Golden Constant, he came out, what was the title for his second book on value of the silver market? Silver, the restless metal, appropriate title. And what we discovered in that study was that silver sometimes does better than gold in a deflation, does best in an inflation. So we can't say for certainty what the markets will do. What we do, and what I look at quite extensively, is the academics and history and empirical evidence, what's actually taken place. So what we do know is that gold will do better historically. I think this time around that silver will probably lag gold in a deflationary depression. But if the continuance of the monetary easing, QE2 to infinity, whatever you want to call it, continues, I think in the end game that silver will still outperform gold, which has been my mantra forever. And I've also been, I think, very objective in the fact that if you're going to ride the silver bull, please hold on tightly, because it is a much harder ride to maintain than maintaining gold. Gold is really mainstream. I mean, you don't even hear, even on the mainstream financial channels like CNBC in the United States or BNN in Canada, occasionally they'll whisper, putting gold back in the monetary system. You're never going to hear them talking about putting the silver back in the monetary system.
I'm going to come back to the deflationary scenario because I do want to, but right now I just want to know the gold, silver, and the fact, Greg, that there's a lot of talk about, from analysts who I respect. I know you hear goofs all the time, I mean, all you got to do is just watch CNBC. And,
Inflationary, deflationary situation, okay, which way are we going to go? Some of us are in the inflationary camp, others are in the deflationary camp. If the deflation happens, I agree with David, I agree with you that silver could lag and get hit for a bit. But ultimately, the QE events, we know what these jackals are going to do. They are going to create as much money as they can to avoid any kind of deflationary scenario. So ultimately, I believe in the inflationary chaos that's coming from all this. So that is very bullish for both gold and silver. And because I'm very bullish on silver from a standpoint that dollar for dollar invested at this point, silver will outperform gold from here on out.
Jeff, silver gold.
Yeah, talking about the inflation-deflation argument, it's really...
I can't come off this topic. I am going to come back and ask the question, though. Go ahead, though.
Yeah, no, I know, everyone keeps talking about it, but I don't understand why anyone could believe deflation is even possible. The last time in the US, there was actually a money supply decrease year over year, was 1962. Politicians only have one real tool to actually fool us and manipulate us and make them believe, or make us believe that they have a right to exist. And that is, they just print money and try to act like they can create money. And that's actually happened today. I put on my blog that there was a video done, they were in Atlanta or something, they were interviewing people and they said, you know, are you on welfare? And they said yes. And they go, well, where did you get that welfare money from? And a whole bunch of people said the same thing. They said, it's from Obama. You know, this is what 12 years of public indoctrination camps called education or school does to people. They can't actually think at this point. And I think probably the only people, probably in all of Palm Springs, that actually do think are probably here right now. I'm not trying to do that so you clap for me or anything, but I just wanted to actually say that. Like, very few people actually really know what's going on.
Tom?
Wow. Well, 1990 Japan, I think if you look at Japan, you see that a country that keeps interest rates at zero creates a scenario where inflating the economy is very difficult. Now we're keeping our interest rates close to zero, and we may run into the same problem that no matter what we do, the same thing happens that is happening in Japan, where you cannot introduce inflation, and it's very difficult to get off the ground for a lot of reasons. I'm concerned, but you know, I don't know enough about money supply and money flows to address the question completely, Michael.
That's fine, that's fine. David, back to you. Deflationary scenario, short term, longer term, inflationary scenario, and back to Japan. Let's bring Japan back into this conversation. Now that Japan cannot finance their debt privately, internally, they're going to have to go to the marketplace. I think I'd like to know your feeling on inflation there too, when they have to start paying real interest rates in order to finance their debt. So let's just take a quick look at inflation or deflation or inflation in the months and years to come, and bring Japan just into the story from what you feel.
Is that a compound question? Is this the final round?
No, it's not the final round, but it's a compound question.
Tom made a very good point, Japan, and that's basically where we are. And so I won't belabor that, but it's very hard to get any traction with zero interest rate policy, which we see in the United States, and we have Japan as a case study. I said I love to use empirical evidence. We have it before us. We know what happened. It was dead for a decade or more. So that's a scenario we're looking at. As Michael said, we're getting to the end of the road because most of their debt is financed within house. In other words, most of the Japanese buy their own debt. You're getting to the point where they have to offer it to somebody else. As powerful as the Federal Reserve is, or is believed to be, it's not all powerful. They do set the discount window on the interbank lending rate, but the markets actually determine what the interest rates are. So I believe what I've learned that there will be pressure on interest rates. And once interest rates start up, bonds go down in price. Anybody with a briefing in finance understands that, and most investors that are invested in anybody at all understand that. So you have a built-in governing system in a advanced capital markets that's called the bond market, which dwarfs all other markets combined. So as interest rates are pushed up, bond markets lose value, which is highly inflationary in a way. But we're already seeing those pressures already within the Greek debacle, where we have a default, but not an all-out default. It's called a partial default. Regardless, you can't be a little bit pregnant. It is a default, as Michael said. So we have those kind of pressures at hand. In the meantime, as Jeff said, and I agree, you have only one catalyst that politicians can tolerate, and that's to hit the accelerator so hard that they start dropping it from helicopters. So I am not perplexed over it, but I am not smart enough to know I know with certainty. I believe you're going to have, in the end, an inflationary depression. But you got to look at it both sides and look at what are similar in the depressions. Either a deflationary depression or an inflationary depression, you have what? A lot of uncertainty, high unemployment, mistrust of the currency, hard economic times, scarcity. The only thing that you're going to change between those two similarities, either one, is what are you going to hold as savings? Are you going to hold a piece of paper with a politician's hot air promise behind it? Are you going to go the Robert Prechter method? Or are you going to think this through and ask yourself one simple question? In 5,000 years of recorded history, has paper ever trumped gold? Ever? And if you answer that question for yourself, I think you'll have a lot better feeling about what you do in the future.
And Greg, I'm going to come to you, but I'm just going to put in one small, I'm going to add something, David. There is not a paper currency that has ever lasted or survived time. You cannot tell me one. Eventually, they all go. Even some of the stronger ones. There's no more German mark. There's no more French franc or Spanish peseta. And you go back through history, every single currency at one time or another throughout history has failed. And the US dollar could very well be on that trajectory, and I put an opinion in here, Greg.
Well, I agree. The actual statistic in recorded history with fiat currencies is that no government, once they start down the fiat currency path, has gotten past the 40-year mark. Okay? Now, 2011, Richard Nixon took us off the gold standard. August of 2011, we just passed. 1971, he took us off, and we just passed that commemorative 40-year date, August of 2011. So 40 years has passed, and we know that no government has gotten into the 41st year before it all collapses. So look what's happening right now. Look at the desperate moves that politicians are making. Look at the just sheer amount of debt. The world is drowning in debt. You're talking hundreds of trillions of dollars. This is such a ridiculous number when you try to help people understand what this number actually means in terms of seconds. A hard, concrete example. 1 million seconds is 12 days. 1 billion seconds with a B is 32 years. And 1 trillion seconds with a T is 32,000 years. This is an absurdity. There is no possible way this can ever be fixed. The numbers are so out of bounds. So, like David's saying, I totally agree. Do you trust in politicians and their whacked out promises? How can anybody believe any politician at this point? It's just ridiculous. Somebody was talking at the dinner we had last night that 100 years from now, somebody's going to write a book about the gullibleness of this generation to trust politicians and how absurd it was that this generation trusted and believed in such a fantasy. Well, that fantasy is coming to an end, and we're going to deal with the consequence phase for literally decades of abuse, and I believe that time is coming very soon. Buy gold, buy silver.
Jeff, inflation, deflation?
Well, first of all, I want to say I started this newsletter that I write called Dollar Vigilante about 2 years ago, and I was crazy for talking about the potential that the US dollar might return to its intrinsic value. And now it's just weird for me that everyone is talking about this, everybody. And that's great. It's actually a global awakening that's going on. Just briefly talking about Japan, a lot of people say that they've been deflationary. They've actually just been slightly inflationary. That's what they've been. The money supply growth every year in Japan for the last 20 years has been 1 to 3% maximum. So they actually haven't had a deflation. But the one thing I like about Japan, talking about the US as well, is, you know, if you screw up in Japan, you take a sword and you like disembowel yourself. And I think the US politicians and central bankers could take a cue from that. I'd like to see that happen at least one time.
I don't know him that well, okay? Actually, he was wandering by and we had a seat on a panel. Tom, and I mean, seriously, from a logic, from your point of view, do you see inflation or deflation from where we're going? How does it strike you?
Yeah, I see pockets of both. By the way, I'm kind of wondering, would C-SPAN cover that? Well, they cover it in Japan, maybe. You know, you ever see those fist fights in Parliament and stuff? Whoa. Pockets. You know, there are a lot of different types of inflation. You know, there's price inflation, wage inflation, product inflation, monetary inflation, commodity inflation. So I tend to believe that we're going to see a terrific accelerated inflation in some things, and a flat to disinflationary to deflationary trends in other things, whether it's, and for a lot of different reasons, even trade wars stuff. So, you know, obviously I'm on the side where the commodities are going to have terrific price inflation. There may be some products that have terrific price inflation, like medical supplies. You know, whereas other or food, or some certain types of foodstuffs, whereas other things have tremendous deflationary forces driving them to zero.
Very good. Now, let's go back here and talk about portfolios, which we've been talking about. And I don't think there's anybody in this audience, I think I'd be preaching to the converted if I were to get up and tell you how many reasons I think you should own gold or silver, precious metals. I don't think that's on the table anymore. We used to get up and preach why you should own. Well, I think that this audience, along with all the audiences we see nowadays, have accepted this fact. But David, and I'm going to come across again, percentage of portfolio. What should you have? And I'm not talking now of gold mining stocks, because I don't figure that's the hard asset. I figure the hard asset itself, I'm not saying don't buy gold or silver mining stocks, that's an investment. But as a hard asset, physical gold and silver, what percentage of your worth or portfolio should you have to protect yourself?
Well, it's always an individual choice, but I'm on record as saying I think 20% is probably, I said 10%. I wrote the 10 Rules of Silver Investing in the early 2000s, and in that book I said 10. So if someone was calling it carbon, I admit that. About 2 years later, I was at a forum like this in San Francisco, and I upped it to 20% publicly. And the reason I did that was I saw a war on the horizon, and I was accurate in that forecast. You want to favor gold over silver the older you are. It's less volatile. It's more mainstream. I would say it's more liquid. Ray can answer that. But, you know, the older you get, the less volatile ride you want. But the younger you are, the more aggressive you are. I tend to favor more silver than gold.
So, but you say 10 to 20 or 20%, and you know, when you said that, something flashed in my mind. The reason you changed your mind is the facts change, and that's what John Maynard Keynes said. When the facts change, I change. And I will admit that I change, and I have changed often. If somebody says, you said, yeah, but the facts change. Greg?
Yeah, I mean, 5 to 10%, you know, for somebody just getting into this, that's a no-brainer to tell somebody, you know, you should have 5 to 10% of your liquid net worth in physical hard assets that you take a delivery of. You don't want anything to do with paper representations of gold and silver, all the fraudulent products of pooled accounts, certificate accounts, ETFs, blah, blah, blah. Okay, you got to get the real stuff, get it in your hands, protect it yourself. When push comes to shove, if you don't own the physical metal and have possession of it, you will not see the full benefit of those rising metal prices. I feel very adamant about that. Overall, my personal portfolio, I have 25% almost at this point of my liquid net worth, including my house. My liquid net worth, those assets that I can turn into cash within a 2-week period. 25% of that money is in precious metals. 40% of the precious metals is in gold, 50% in silver, and the rest in platinum and palladium. I like coins versus bars. In the United States, unlike the items that are non-1099able, which allow you to keep them as a private transaction, legally as a dealer, gold dealer, Marigold.com, I preach this forever, and people don't seem to quite understand the benefits of this. When you're selling, there's only reportability when you're selling precious metal items. Some are 1099able in certain quantities, others are not. American Eagle's gold and silver coins are not 1099able in any quantity. So if you have a large stash of precious metals to purchase, that's a very good choice because the government doesn't know that this transaction took place.
And if you live in Canada, where I do, and do so much business with Americans, and by the way, I'm in the gold business, we do the Maple Leaf business, right? But same kind of thing. It's just, it's the hard asset, Jeff.
Yeah, if you're talking about percentage of the portfolio you should have in gold, I think anything up to 100% is totally rational at this point. Like really, I know it's the fact that sounds weird is weird to me. This has been money throughout centuries, throughout millennia, and it still is. You still in Vietnam, when you list your property, like a real estate transaction, they actually list it in gold ounces. So people in Asia and all over the place are still quite connected to what was, at least for that period, real money. And it's only really over here, US, Canada, really the Western world, where they've gotten so good at diseducation that no one even really knows what real money is anymore. Ben Bernanke was testifying in front of Congress, and they basically asked him, is gold money? Now, I don't know, has anyone read the Constitution of the US? It says money is gold and silver coin, and he said no. And he was not arrested and trotted off to jail at that point, which I was very disappointed with.
Tom?
Outside here, not counting your house, I think 10% is a good number, and I think it's gold and silver. So that means anything that involves your portfolio, including your checking account. 10% is a good number. The kid, if you have kids like to have coins around the house, but anything like that's great. I think at home and maybe in a safe deposit box we don't have enough. We have maybe $120,000 worth of gold and silver. Most of it's in coins. Lately I've been buying these platinum coins every time I'm in South Africa, which is often. They still haven't sold out after all these years. The commemorative, they're 1/10 of the platinum ounce coins that commemorate Nelson Mandela, and I like those, and I think that you can turn it into a real experience for the whole family.
So what I say to you is what I've heard here, and I subscribe to it too, liquid assets. It's not your house, it's not your factory, it's not your business, it's liquid assets. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm afraid we're there. I'd love to go on with you guys. This is, I find it, even being moderator and having doing this, I always find that I learn something, add it to the mix. Some I agree with, some I figure might, something to think about, but even Jeff here, who some of you may consider excessive. But when he says 100 and David says 10 or 20 and Greg says 25, whatever the numbers are, if you listen to it all, put it through your head, think about your portfolio, think about where you are in life, and I will leave you with one piece of advice. Remember, as long as they're well respected, listen as much to people with whom you disagree, who are analysts and forecasters, than those with whom you agree. It's really easy to drink the Kool-Aid, and it's much better when you sit through and you hear diverse opinions, and then you go home and make what I would say a knowledgeable, qualified decision. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for attending. Thank you to the panel, and we wish you a safe ride home.